Neil, I'm back. By the way, hello everybody, welcome back.
Happy birthday, TC!
Thank you very much. Hey, they're not as fun when you get old, but it's good to still be here, everyone. So thanks for you coming back. Neil, I want to talk about the band last week. I missed the show with the SoCal High Jazz Band.
Oh my!
Was it awesome?
So good. They were like they came up from LA. They returned from LA, but they were the #1 band.
They won the Grand Poobah, right?
And they played shit that was hard to play. I mean, even Jim told me these kids play hard to play, and they were flawless. They had this place rocking.
Do you think Jim instills that level of quality with them?
Know,
Why is it that there's something about either his instruction, leadership?
He's got the flip flops on.
I know, but
he's cruising around a little bit.
They're on the show every year, and every year they're fantastic.
Yeah.
So thank you, SoCal High Jazz Band. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. So I missed it, and so I'm glad.
You have a lot of announcements to make. You're canceling the
big news about the skate contest. No, not a big news. Is that we're actually going to change it up. The pavement out there is terrible, but we're talking about the annual boardroom skateboard contest.
Yeah.
And it's about 6 years ago, we were just tearing skin off people. We had 4 broken bones.
Yeah.
I've never had to use so much first aid in my life.
Ugly.
So I was like, we got to change it because the pavement's so rough.
Yeah.
So we went to a big mini ramp, which is a huge undertaking to build on Friday, skateboard on Saturday, and tear it down on Sunday. And the reason is because I do it all. Chappie's amazing. I mean, Yusuf Camino, Brandon Irwin. There's a core group of us that it's a fantastic group. But we're gonna change it up. We're going back to a street contest, and we're gonna change it up. So stay tuned to that. And it's always we always do our fundraising for the animal shelter, and we'll continue to do that as well.
Awesome.
Stay tuned.
And my announcement is I will never go out after what I saw today. I will never be surfing at Manresa or the beaches again.
So if anyone watching the show should go to the Off the Lip Facebook page and see your post you put up today.
If they want, they want to. I'm just stating right now.
It was.
I quit counting at 40 great white sharks. I got to thank Chris Guyardi from the Special Helicopters. I'm in Watsonville, Second Harvest Food Bank, and because he made his big frenzy. Like he likes to make it a little bit of a splash.
Right.
So I call him. Hey Chris, I'm in Watsonville. What's going on? He goes, get over here in 5 minutes. We're taking off. So I rush over there.
Straight for Great White Hunt.
Helicopter's already going. He goes, we're doing we have a training pilot. I'm like, oh shit.
Well, you went up in a helicopter with a trainer?
Yeah. Asian lady.
What's more dangerous?
Asian.
Is it more dangerous to surf at Manresa with the sharks or fly in a helicopter with a trainer?
At least if you crash in the water, right?
It's training fright. Get in the back and put your seatbelt on. I'm like, oh shit.
So you're looking.
Was really good.
You're looking for great whites.
And we went out to we go out here, Watsonville Airport, make a right there at the bluff at the.
Right at the end of the road.
Right at the end of the road.
Right there,
make a right. Yeah. And you look down and go, oh my. Man, Reese's got. They're so close, TC. They want like 5. I saw 5 that should be almost sitting in a deck chair, putting on number 50.
You know, when you posted that today, I saw it. Yeah. And I was like, I instantly thought of like an Indiana Jones movie where he's getting chased and he gets to the cliff, looks down, and there's like 40 great white sharks, and he jumps in. So you told me earlier you saw an 18-foot.
It must have been probably 15, 18 feet. The thing was huge. The thing was like a fucking whale. Big enough. Wasn't the lengthwise? It was so incredible. It was the width. The width of the thing.
And this helicopter's like all glass, so you can see perfect, right? Look out the window.
Yeah.
You told me earlier that there was 2 kids swimming. And a shark was swimming right next to him.
2 kids swimming. That was by the if you're looking at the cement boat, if you're looking out of the cement boat to the right towards more New Brighton. Okay. 2 kids swimming in the thing, and it was 2 great whites that were literally 20 feet away. Only 20 feet away. I'm like, oh fuck.
Think how that mom feels right now if she knew.
Mom's reading a book.
Yeah, go swim, kids.
Playing. This.
So
shit.
You said you're never gonna surf Manresa again.
My park pass. I have that golden poppy park pass. $20, it's yours.
Anybody want a state park pass?
You're done. You're done, dude. Because you can't go after you work. You can't go out. I mean, literally.
Well, you know, our shark expert, Dave Ebert.
He's been on the phone. He's been texting me all night long.
No, he posted the same thing.
Yeah.
He recently did the same flight.
Is that it? 40? You only saw 40?
Yeah,
I mean,
is that what he said to you?
well, yeah, he said only 40. Well, Chris said, Neil, it's early. We went up at like 10 o'clock. Mm-hmm. It was early in the day.
Right.
Later in the day, what's even warmer, they come up out of the
Canyon.
The canyon.
Yep.
And they sleep in the hot water.
They sunbathe out there, right?
They sunbathe in the hot water.
Yeah.
But they're still moving.
Right. They have to always move. That's how they breathe.
And you look out and you go, it's like fucking Times Square for sharks.
Well, where did they go? Because when we had Dave on the show, we're like, hey, where's the sharks? He's like, I don't know.
I don't know.
And now there's like 50 of them swimming off the beach.
I mean, that's awesome.
Question.
Emmanuel lives down there. You live in LaSalle Beach.
No, I live on the far west side.
Oh, you do? You moved over there?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? I'm
aware of all the sharks. I think it's pretty spectacular. I think it's pretty cool.
It'll be wild.
But Dave Ebert said, you know, if you go swimming in Manresa, a great white shark will come and check you out.
He
like
told
dog,
me
like
5 know that you're in the water.
Like a dog comes out, wants to sniff you and check you out. The great white shark will come out and will check you out, and then 9 times out of 10, or even more than that, will swim away.
So we need a bad smell so the sharks stay away?
I was like, damn, God. I saw all those sharks down there. I'm like, you know, if you're smart, you just go surf when they're not there, when they ain't.
Well, I think the trick is to bring a boogie boarder with you.
But they're getting,
and then it's just flapping around his fins.
They're getting close. They're moving up. They're moving.
Right.
You know, they're at New Brighton now. They're going to be at Capitola. And a friend of mine goes, "Are they anywhere near us?" I'm like, "Dude, they're on their way."
Right. Well, I mean, if there's 4...
Dave Grigsby from the kayak connection. It's like, dude, how close are they getting to the hook? And I go, they're on their way.
No way, they've already been here. Like, on their way.
Well, by the way, our guest tonight,
Emmanuel Guzman, everybody. Segue straight into it. Welcome back. We said earlier, fourth time on the show.
Yeah, there's always been something new. You know, there's always something. You always have, great things to say. And remember the kids program you were going to do with the
high school?
The high school kids program that still should be on the shelf. That still could be something you could. That would be so cool.
Well, we were just talking about it earlier, how skateboarders, and I remember you telling this. They're kind of a different breed. And
let's introduce him, Emmanuel Guzman. One of the world's great skateboarders. I mean, right? TC, you know.
Absolutely. I was top 1% of skateboarding.
I was surfing yesterday, this guy goes, "Hey, who's your instructor tomorrow night?" I go, "Emmanuel Guzman." And his friend goes, "His deck is probably one of the most sold decks in the world."
If you know this because you meet people who collect your skateboards. I meet people who collect Emmanuel skateboards. And I always, it comes back to a consistent theme in a lot of the art that you've had on your boards that can create a palette. Similar to how the Roscop series is so collectible and so timeless. I feel like you have a series similar to that.
Yeah.
Plus all the other boards and
absolutely.
But your personal single pro models. A lot of times a company will do a series.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How about this? Favorite series you've been a part of? Favorite deck that you've had as a pro model?
Favorite series? I mean, there have been some really cool series. I think that like the first one that pops to my mind is sort of along the era that they had brought back a lot of their classic graphics and were starting to delve into, eventually doing some like renditions of those. So they had done the Ashes to Ashes series. They had brought back a lot of their classic graphics, and I was lucky enough with a bunch of other guys on the team to get brought into doing like a parody series of those classic graphics. Mm-hmm. Because they were doing so well, they thought, maybe we should just do a parody series of these graphics for the current, like younger team, not the Vets Division guys. And they asked us all kind of what graphics we wanted. And at that time, it was a really hard choice for me because there were so many rad graphics to pick from, honestly. And I think they were really kind of assuming and almost gearing up for me to pick like a Jason Jesse graphic because they knew that I liked his graphics, and they thought I might sort of gravitate towards that. But I was driving over the hill with a friend, to go skate, and we were having the talk about it, and I'm sitting there going, shit, what should I do? And he looks at me and he goes, man, and I love my friend Andy Menzoff. He's a rad skater, got a really just cool outlook on art and on skateboard history, and especially on like, graphic art. His brother's a graphic artist, and so I was heeding his advice, and he goes, it would be the raddest one, and it would be way more kind of relevant to, I think, like you in growing up here, and like what stands out to me as a kid that grew up here is the slasher graphic. He's like Keith Meeks, like the local legend from eons, and it's the graphic that sticks out in my mind as a kid when I first went into the shop, and that's the one that you should do, and I thought about it, and I'm like, fuck, that's actually a really rad idea. So I hit up Keith out of respect and asked, hey, would you mind if I used your slasher as a parody for a graphic? I know that you are super protective of that graphic. It's your baby, and like, I don't want to go stepping on toes, so I'm asking for permission, and I would have taken whatever answer he would have said, obviously hoping he would have been like, yeah, of course. But he goes, I'll tell you what, he goes, bring me a 6-pack of Pacifico and we'll talk about it. And I was like, fuck, deal, and so I showed up.
Did you do that?
Yeah, I showed up at his office with a 6er of Pacifico and made it official, and so that was probably like a graphic in a series that I was a part of that really stands out as just a rad story. It's an honor to get to use that graphic as a parody, you know what I mean?
And as a skateboard collector, that may be one of your most valuable boards.
It's a cool one. I've seen like several tattoos of it. A lot of people have the slasher tattoo. You come to recognize that, but I've actually seen some people that have gotten that parody one just because it's a little more relevant to them and their personality. So that was a cool one. And then obviously, the Dining with the Dead one, the one that you were just telling me the story about Jimbo, the artist who's responsible for helping create it, was just in here smashing one not too long ago.
He smashed one.
Radical, if anybody has the right to treat their art.
Everybody has the right. Does he have the right? You don't have a problem with him smashing it.
Hell no, no. Yeah, it's my name on it, but it's his art. Let's be honest. And if I had art that I had created, who's anyone to tell me how to treat it? If I want to pee on it, I should pee on it.
Well, I like how that's a horizontal.
Hopefully
graphic.
he didn't do that in here, but
no, he smashed it really good.
I wouldn't have been bummed. Like he would have had the right, but no, smashing whatever. It's definitely one of, I think it's safe to say, our favorite graphics, his and mine. I know that we both put a lot of thought and time into
Was
it.
it a combination of Jimbo and Keith Meek?
No, this is
the Dining with the Dead board.
Yeah, okay.
And there's been variations of it. The silver one is
Do you have one next to you?
we just sold it. But the silver one that just came out, that's a big board for you, right?
That is. So yeah, this last rendition of the Dining with the Dead that they did was for my 20-year kind of commemoration, like as being pro for Santa Cruz. So yeah, it's hugely symbolic for me. I know that 5 years ago when Santa Cruz did the series for me based around that graphic, and it was a team series, which was cool. I got to include other people, but I remember having the talk with Kendall then going, man, like, let's celebrate this 15-year mark, because who knows where I'll be in 5 more years, like, and where will I be in 20 years, like, who knows? So this is an awesome commemoration when they did that 5 years ago. So now to have this one and to have made it to that 20-year mark, I mean, some things get sweeter with time, and this is definitely one of those things. And it's also just, it never gets old as far as just the privilege and like the honor and the pride that I feel to be in the position that I'm in, 20 years later. It's like that same feeling as a kid.
What did you remember about you getting a professional contract, or that your first day working for or with Santa Cruz Skateboards?
I still have it. I have my original contract like on hand at home. It's precious to me, of course. Yeah.
What did it say? Can you share what it said?
I mean, it's definitely shorter than my contracts that came in the latter years because it was all new to me, and it was definitely one of those like learning opportunities to help me along the next 20 years of my career. Like, it's your board sponsor that turns you pro, right? And with that comes the ability to then navigate what being a pro means. And with somebody like NHS as my, mentors and like confidants in this journey, I had a really good chance to succeed if, I did what I came to learn was like protocol for being a pro. And a lot of that comes in those first contracts. You have it there concrete on paper. Like,
what were you required to do it as a pro?
So there's, a certain amount of footage that you're required to submit every year. And there's a certain amount of photos that you're required to submit every year for editorial submission, for ads, for whatever, for catalog stuff.
Okay.
You're responsible for getting them photos in their hands, right? They are completely off the spectrum at that point. You go out and you contact the photographer, you navigate the photographer getting those photos to NHS. That's your job. That's all in contract.
That's hard though, isn't it? Because sometimes those photographers want to sell them to magazines. Like they're hustling to get those shots out. Now, also included in that is the magazine photo incentive,
right?
And you get the cover.
I mean,
Thrasher or Trans World at the time or whatever.
So every job, like even if you're a solo artist or even if you're like that individual athlete, like you have a team, right? Everybody has a team, no matter how solo or individual they might seem in their success. There's always a team helping navigate that stuff. And so having some guidance and some direction, like in a contract or through a team manager or through, some of the higher ups that are explaining to you kind of the importance of some of these roles now as a pro, putting your name on their product. It was a great like learning experience, and it only helped better my knowledge of what it meant to like get ahead and to better my own career, because I learned that, okay, if there's a set protocol for what I'm expected to do, like, yeah, you don't want to default and do less, but there's always a way to do more. There's always a way to, the next time that conversation around signing a contract comes up, you have more ammo and you have more like proof that you can produce to that expectation, in which case, therefore, you're compelled to ask for a little more to better yourself, to help yourself along. Like, so.
Are there times where you lay in bed at night saying, I'm not doing enough? Well, God, I'm not doing enough. Or,
I mean, these days, definitely, I've been a little bit tormented in the last few years between being plagued with injury and then having to hustle in a way that didn't revolve around skateboarding 100%. Is where, for most of my life, my hustle has revolved 100% around skateboarding. Those relationships with photographers, with filmers, that was all established long ago, because they eventually became that team that helped me to get to where I needed to be with my sponsors, right? So
I saw on YouTube, I've seen a lot of YouTube of you try something different, try something new, and you fail, and you fail, and you fail, and you fail, and you keep, and you hurt. I mean, I'm going, God, you've seen CC.
Oh,
that's
many times.
Fucking hurt, right? But you get up, and it seems to me like I'm going to compare you with a different sport of like boxing, where the guy gets knocked down, gets back up, gets knocked down, gets back up, gets knocked down, gets back up. And it seems like saying that you did that so many different times. Was that a requirement, or was that something you wanted to do? Was I'm gonna be here with these photographers. I'm gonna be here with my crew. I'm gonna do this trick. I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, just as in life.
Or was there more failure? Was there more failure than was success?
Of course, there's always failures that don't get mentioned, and there's always failures that don't make the storyboard, but ultimately that's all part of the continuity of being persistent, and no matter what it is you do or who you are, right? Like, if you want to achieve something or you want to succeed in something, there's an element of persistence that's required, and for me, that persistence came in the form of like taking a physical beating and then deciding mentally and physically that I was willing to do it again and to better my outcome, right? And then when you've gone through that enough times and you know that like those outcomes are more personal than anything, it's a blip in time. It's a blip in my video part. It's a clip that actually lives in the video part for a split second, but when they go back to tell the story, it turns into this whole experience, right? And that story has unfolded for skateboarders around the world for time.
A lot of makes.
And like
a lot of makes for Emmanuel. There's blood in those photos.
Yeah, no, yeah, like,
Seriously.
absolutely. But again, you know, that's something that I'm now, like, at this point in my life, I can be proud of, and I definitely can mention to people that when they talk about my longevity as a pro skateboarder and how it, you know, is and pertains to like what I've done to achieve that, being able to take the hits and being able to sustain that kind of like physical just abuse, and then to continually get back up and to have the stamina to like get through those moments. Yeah, you could relate it to a boxer. There's a lot of similar like discipline and just mindset that goes into it, and like for sure.
And how did it change for you when you held your son in your arms for the first time?
Oh man,
What switch? How many switches changed? Like, okay, I got to skate here now. Right?
it was crazy. Well, literally, I mean, the first thing that happened when I held him is like fluid just started pouring out of every like facial orifice. You know what I mean? I feel like I was crying out of my ears. It was just like snot running down my nose.
It's an awesome day.
Tears, like, and I don't care. There's just way earlier things happening for me to care about snot running down my nose. And it was just, you know, this really kind of magical, unexplainable moment. But a lot of, I think, the feelings and those anticipations and like understanding what kind of person that I was gonna like evolve into through this process, that happened before he was born. The moment of holding him was pure just elation and just joy that like.
And did you wake up next morning and go, oh, okay, I got to change it. I have to make it. I got to turn left here or turn right. I got to go a different direction.
No, that didn't happen for a while. Honestly, I think that my goal when he was born, because there was really only so little that I felt like I could do for him in his development. Right, you just have to sit back and kind of observe. For a lot of that, and so I think that my goal was to go hard, and like just as he was coming into the world, I wanted to come in, you know, to my new kind of person, like swinging as well, and really push myself in the skating sense, and so I did. I remember when he was really little, I was skating really hard. I was skating super hard, and I was really determined to like, boom, I want to make a mark just like he's made a mark, so that as he gets older, like that mark resonates with him.
Can you tell our audience what skating hard means?
I mean, for me, skating hard meant just really like, I mean, skating to my potential and really pushing myself to get out there and to skate as much as possible and to subject myself to that like pressure of shooting photos and filming and wanting to make money and wanting to take advantage of the fact that if I put on a shirt of my sponsors when I was shooting that photo or filming that trick, that I can make a little more. So I was hustling, I was hustling extra hard. And within what I was focusing my hustle on, which was skating, I was skating extra hard.
Did you teach yourself to hustle, or were you instructed by someone like TC or a mentor? No,
man, that's just the nature of how I, you know, have lived my life and been a part of this life journey. I knew that from a young age, my parents had 4 kids. They weren't left much themselves. That, you know, even though I was young, it was a very real concept that I understood that at the end of the day, there wasn't going to be much left for me, and whatever that I wanted in life, I was going to have to go out and make on my own. And so that's a really overwhelming feeling and a thought as a young kid, but because I knew it was a reality that I couldn't just like neglect and like ignore.
That's how it works. You have to. He has to produce.
So I started saving. I started hustling then, man.
As a professor, you have to produce.
Well, you know, nowadays in skateboarding, there's 8-year-olds who have full-time coaches.
Right. Oh, right.
You know, and you know, E-Man grew up in a time where you had a team manager that was managing at that time kind of a worldwide organization of skateboarders. You know, and so you had to come back, like what you said, with the photos, with the proof of video.
Your responsibility was to get the photographer, to get the videographer.
Absolutely, yeah. There was a lot of like gray areas that, as a young kid entering an industry, you are super overwhelmed with having to reach out and make those contacts in a network like that. But just like any job, or just like any, you know, like I said, network of people that are going to help you along in your career, you have to do that. And without a manager, like an agent.
Yeah.
Those phone calls are up to you. Those introductions are up to you. You can't go asking people to hold your hand through it. You know,
Right.
you're already in a
Right.
position of being a paid professional, so act like one, right? So it's scary. It's scary. It's scary as shit. But like, with every phone call I made, with every interaction I had, reaching out to people and trying to network, I was met with more and more support and more. You know.
Was that something was that something you knew you were good at, or were you scared or frightened to do it?
Frightened, of course, but I did it. I didn't let that stop me from doing it. And the difference between me getting the opportunities I got and not was a matter of making those phone calls and not.
Right.
And so, yes, it was terrifying, but I did it, and I did it again, and I did it again, and I did it again.
It's also so important too because that was like, you had to have camera equipment then. You know, some of the most viral clips now are with a cell phone.
Yeah.
You know, and like, and some of the highest rewards have been like cell phone clips.
And
back then, it was like you had to hustle to get somebody with a nice camera.
Absolutely. And I mean, there was very few people in this area, you know, in Santa Cruz specifically, let alone San Jose, San Francisco, very small industry of, you know, media. And so, yes, moving to San Jose helped immensely. Moving to San Francisco helped immensely. But regardless, I was just a kid from Santa Cruz. None of those big photographers or filmers knew who I was until I went and I shook their hand and introduced myself and said, I'm so-and-so. I skate for Santa Cruz. Would you be down to go shoot photos sometimes? Here's my number. Literally, I mean, that's how life worked, and that's how...
The hustle's real, Neil. It is. The hustle's real.
Yeah.
And you're married with a kid.
Yeah.
And celebrating 20 years with
So the
Santa
hustle
Cruz.
never ends, but
Yeah.
the hustle's real, but yeah.
Well, let's segue into it. Let's go straight into the fact that, you know, you're celebrating 20 years as a pro for Santa Cruz, and a month ago you got a full-time position to work at NHS Santa Cruz.
Yes. Huge, man. So
and
big.
I'm proud of you. We've talked about
Thank
your
you. Thank you.
your
Yes.
segue.
Absolutely kept you in the loop.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm super proud. But mentally, it's kind of like you become a little bit of Shamu in the tank, and not Shamu in the ocean when you take that leap. You know, and are you mentally you're into this 100%? I know, but explain like this big career change.
So basically, I mean, to say it's been a long time coming, it doesn't really do the scenario justice. It's a very unique situation I'm in. And so to go from riding as a pro for NHS for 20 years and being an independent contractor and working with them independently as my own, you know, entity more or less, while still maintaining a professional relationship, you know, it's different than being an in-house employee and being behind the scenes, helping with the side of things that, you know, the consumer doesn't see, that the team riders often don't see, that, you know, anybody but in-house employees see because of the specifications of the different departments and the, you know, the privacy of certain info and like and the privy of certain, you know, even just places within the warehouse. So I was already pretty well versed with most of that stuff based on the relationship I had as a pro skateboarder. And for me, after years of really, you know, internalizing where I could go after 20 years as a pro skateboarder and be happy and make a career of it and you know, look at it as a place where I can grow and that I can learn and that I can expand and you know, take on a next chapter of life. It always came back to skateboarding in some way, shape, or form, whether that was starting a skateboard school.
That's what you knew. That's what you knew. That's
Or
what you,
skate
that's
camp.
What I know,
or whatever.
And I've known it to such an extensive level that there's a million avenues that you could go if that's where you want to go, you know, like a lot of industries. But I knew that also for realistic purposes, like logistic purposes, just for having some structure, instead of once again stepping out with this crazy dream and trying to build it from scratch, I already had an established relationship with somebody who I saw as being like a very, you know, good candidate for fulfilling that next chapter of life that I was just talking about.
Who
so
is that?
that's NHS.
Okay, right.
And so I had been talking with people there about potential jobs for a while, for a little over a year, and I had again been persistent, and I hadn't been like, I wouldn't say that.
Did you know they were looking, or were you?
No, they weren't looking.
Were you trying to get in the door?
I was being proactive. I was just reaching out and putting my feelers out and seeing if anything came up that I was super interested in. I would love to be considered for whatever, and well, not whatever. I had some specific ideas for jobs that I thought I would be a good fit for, but ultimately, because they weren't actually offering up those positions at the time, it wasn't a rejection. It was just more of a,
You're not doing it right now.
That's awesome that you're interested. We think that you would be a great fit too. Just come back and when something becomes available, we'll take it from there, But I had basically learned through my life in skateboarding that a no or, a simple letdown like that isn't always a definitive no, and it doesn't always mean like no forever. It means, and especially in this case, it means check back, they said, in X amount of time.
They told you. They told you to check back.
And they wanted him to check back.
And I have learned this so many times in life that those no's will very oftentimes turn into yes if you are persistent and you follow up and you follow through. So again, that's something that skateboarding instilled in me that I will now carry in life, whether it's going after a job at NHS or anywhere. It's something that I've learned is the process to get to where I want.
Right.
And that those little no's can't always be internalized as huge no's forever, and that's the end of that. You know?
Is this a 20-year thing coming down the road for you?
I
do
mean,
you see this as being a 20-year stop for you?
It's so possible. It's absolutely. I think that with my love for skateboarding, with my just like comfort in all the people that I know that work at NHS and have been a part of NHS for so long, there's absolutely a familiarity and like an ease about fitting in and being comfortable that I would have had another really interesting like experience trying to find.
Well, no, just so you know,
he's back here with gray hair like you.
No, yeah.
Oh yeah, they're already coming in, you know that.
and let's be
I'm
honest.
pretty sure the second I held Cairo, a couple sprouted.
NHS. I spent a couple of decades working at NHS, and it's not an easy environment coming in as an outsider. And so the advantage with your relationships there. You can hit, and I'm sure they feel the same way. You hit the ground running. Mm-hmm. You know everybody from a Dave Friel to the art department, Lee and Mark and everybody down there. And so you come in as a valuable. I was telling him earlier before the show, and Ron Whaley, who is another legend at Santa Cruz. He's been there for a very long time, 20-year career as well as you. And he is always in the media. Because he works there, he's a fantastic skateboarder. So they're like, "Hey, we need a photo. Get out there." And so he's more relevant than he's ever been. And
even more relevant to me in the sense that you want to talk about like mentors and role models and examples. Like Ron is absolutely somebody that I have watched and followed and paid close attention to how he's lived his life and worked in the industry he loves and like transitioned from being one of my favorite pros and like a really well-known pro skateboarder to working in-house. And so people like Ron obviously were inspiring in me thinking like, yes, this could be the next chapter because I've seen Ron.
He flourished as the pro, got in basically at the ground floor, has worked his way up.
Right.
And here's another thing. If you want to be in the skateboard industry and you want to live here in Santa Cruz with your family like you have been your whole life, you're kind of limited.
Yeah.
And so you
limited.
And a 20-year career as a pro with Santa Cruz Skateboards, in my opinion, is like Hall of Fame level stuff, man. Seriously. And I think that people in the industry respect that. And so now to continue on with this next chapter is some really stuff to make people proud of you. So
thank you, man. Thank you.
Do you have room up here for his Hall of Fame award when he gets it?
I'll come down for that.
Is there something in the
Hey,
you got a spot open up for?
Is that something
I'm
that
way too young for that?
I know, but is that something that would you be an honor for you to be honored with a spot in the Hall of Fame?
I mean, I don't know who wouldn't. I think that the fact that that even exists and that people who we all love and respect have been now inducted into it, right? It's not like that the Hall of Fame itself is what makes being a part of it cool. It's the people that have now been inducted into it that are making it pretty fun.
Didn't Don Bostic, Don Bostic just go...
Yeah, just this weekend, Don got in there, yeah.
So
yeah.
obviously, to be mentioned on any level with any number of the people who have been inducted into the Hall of Fame would be another huge honor for, I think, anybody in skateboarding that genuinely like loves it. But yeah, at the same time, yeah,
he skated faster. You know, I was telling you earlier. Like, I mean, I've been watching you skate your entire 20 year. You haul ass on a skateboard, and you're so committed when he stands on it. You push harder and you go faster than anybody. And then what that does is that makes you go farther in the air when you do a trick. You know, and I respect that with you. And to be standing after as strong and as healthy as you are, that's also, I guess, a tribute to your tenacity.
Whenever you've done before, it goes this injury, that injury, this hurts, that hurts, this hurts. And now you have a 8 to 5 job. Yeah. You're starting to feel a little better.
Yeah, actually, I am.
Yeah.
No, but the reason being is that I was working construction for the last couple of years, and that plus skateboarding was taking a toll.
Right.
The first day that I started this new job, you know, my wife mentioned as soon as I got home, "Oh my gosh, you have so much more energy than you have for a long time." I stayed up past 10 o'clock. I, did these normal things that she hadn't seen in a while, and I think we were both longing for, and it was just beating me up. And so now, I mean, yes, working like a desk job is actually super energizing and invigorating when I get the chance to get out and be active. I'm not, so tired physically already that it just is like a...
If you had one place you had left to skate, where would you skate?
Oh man, I think honestly, like, I don't know where in Africa, but I know that like for my continental checkoffs, that Africa's always been on the radar just because it would be an amazing place to visit, and I think it would bring like my worldly travels kind of full circle.
Yeah.
And how many countries have you been to?
I've been to, I think it's 32. I know it's over 30, but
skateboarding's taking you to 32 countries.
Yeah.
Wow. If you were to watch one skateboarder, who would that skateboarder be?
If I could watch one skateboarder, John Cardiel.
Great choice.
Yeah. There's just, again, like this tenacity and passion in his skateboarding that never gets old for anybody. I mean, he's been dealing with an injury for several years now that's left him like semi-paralyzed from one of his legs down, which he's still able to skate, and he's still shredding on a bike, and he's snowboarding, and he's doing what the doctors told him he would never do again, like times 10. But you read an interview, and like 9 out of 10 people will still say John Cardiel is like their favorite skateboarder because that energy just never dies. It never.
He was a snowboard pioneer.
And he was a snowboard pioneer.
Yeah, he took skateboarding to the snow, and it blew minds. And Chris Roach from Grass Valley was in that crew, and they were responsible for changing, making snowboarding cool.
Right.
It was kind of a European weird sport, and then suddenly these skateboarders showed up wearing black. Right. It was neon, and then these guys showed up wearing black, and they cut down their boards and acted like skateboarders.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Tweaked their grabs a little harder, went a little bigger, went a little hard, ate shit a little harder.
Yeah, and raised hell.
And then unlocked, like didn't Cardiel, he was like one of the first people to do like a cork five on the snowboard.
I'm sure he has a bunch of firsts. Yeah. And then they'd go to the contest and get like kicked out. And like they took skateboarding to snowboarding.
Right. Yes.
Changed the game.
So just to add on to that, I have Cardiel's snowboard when Santa Cruz reissued those.
Yes.
I have his snowboard, and it's like...
there's one up there. We have one. Yeah.
Oh, rad. Yeah. It's now become like the sickest story ever surrounding this snowboard because Matt Lochner was working in warranty at the time. He was dealing with warranty, and he had gotten some boards in, and he was like, "Yo, I can lend you one to go up to the snow for promo for the weekend, but I need it back because I have to get it to somebody." And so he gives me this board, and I'm like, "You're shitting me! You're gonna let me use this?" Like,
it was a rare board. They made 250 of them.
250. It's number 9 of 250.
Yeah.
And it's one of the first 10. What? So now I'm learning what that means. So I'm like, sick. you're never getting this back, right? And so weeks gone by, months gone by, he's like, yo, where's that board? And I'm kind of, dodging him. And finally 6 months go by and he's like, I'm not seeing that thing, am I? And I'm like, look, if you have to answer to people, like, it can come out of my check, whatever, but like, I have to have that board, I just have to have that thing.
Right.
And that's an awesome board.
And so I'm down at a trade show. This is a long time ago. This is right after they reissued. I'm down at a trade show, and I hadn't ever actually met John Cardiel personally. And he was sitting at the Vans booth, and someone's like, oh, you want to meet him? Let's go over there. I'll introduce you. I'm like, yo, no way. Let's go meet him. And so we go up, and I introduce myself, and he's like, yo, what's up? We're talking. And I think he may have, like, recognized me just from being up from this area. And, I'm so starstruck. And so I get to telling him this story about the snowboard, and I think he's going to just, like, think it's cool. And I'm like, yeah, and they fucking lent me this snowboard, and I kept it, and I told him, yeah, this thing's mine now, and I was like, and it was number 9 of 250, and he looks at me and like his whole mood changes.
Oh shit.
And he goes, number 9's my lucky number. That was my snowboard.
Oh my god.
Lackey took one.
He goes, you got my fucking snowboard, and I never got it, and I was always wondering, like, he got one, but not number 9
Right.
of the first.
Oh my god.
That's
I
amazing.
have that board, so I was like, like.
Did you want to give it to him?
Of course I did. I offered it. I'm like, yo, you can have it back. I'll send it to you. I'll bring it up to you. I'll drive it to you. Like, I'll deliver it to Sacramento, And he goes, nah, fuck that, dude. Because he had his back injury at that point, and he couldn't really do too much. It was, like, really recent after he'd had his injury. And he goes, but you got to promise me something. And in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, he's going to want it back. He's going to want me to, like, deliver it something. Stop riding it. Take care of it.
Right.
He goes, promise me one thing. You're going to beat the shit out of that board. He's like, ride it over rocks and trees and logs, and like,
That's awesome.
He's like, fuck that thing up, dude, promise me. And I'm like, you have my word. And in my mind, I'm already manifesting my next just like psycho jaunt, like out in the woods. And it was just so serendipitous, right? Like one of my favorite skateboarders, just somebody that for more than just his accomplishments and talents on a board is just like the energy and the person that he is and that I've learned him to be is just a very like powerful, like,
That's awesome.
You still have that board?
oh yeah,
course.
heck yeah, I have that
Huh?
board. And I will, hopefully I'll give it to him one day, like I think that there will come a day when it's going to run its course. I think that's very natural in the world of like, what I'm also learning about gifting. Like I've been reading a bunch of cool kind of Native American literature, and what we know as like Westerners as gifting is so different than what a lot of other people think of as gifting, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times gifts come full circle. Like it could be something you gave to someone a long time ago. You might get that gift back.
Right.
But it doesn't lose that value. It's now got additional, value.
Double value.
Yes. So I would be hyped to get it back to him one day after I've done my due diligence.
It's funny because I think
the rails are still hanging on a little bit. Like
think of how the emotion of you meeting Cardiel is probably many kids have had meeting you. It's the same kind of starstruck, butterflies mumbling over words. It's pretty cool.
I like to think that that's the impact that I have when I meet kids, because if I've been, if that impact has been made on me by somebody, then absolutely, maybe not it's every kid that I meet, but there's definitely a handful of kids that, I have the potential to make that impact on if I'm cool. And like, yeah, it's always rad meeting kids. And I think about that. I'm like, cool. Like one of the things that I think keeps people like myself going all these years in, it's the little things. It's not the getting the covers. It's not getting the crazy interviews and doing all that. It's the realization of what your like, embodiment as a pro means to that kid, and what that one like interaction is going to mean to that kid. Because for me and for so many of us, we all remember those first interactions vividly, like clear as crystal.
And it can backfire.
I remember,
hell
I remember this kid when you and I were KSCO, and then Keith Meeks came on the show, and the family, Dad, hey, can I bring my kid down? He wants to meet Keith Meeks. Never met him. Sure, bring him on down. I don't care. Kid shows up with the family, and he's got he's head to toe in Keith Meeks shit. Right?
The socks, the old jacket.
Everyone, Keith Meeks, right? And he's got. I go, hey, son, you got after the break. You have one question for Keith Meeks, right? So the break comes, and I go, okay, now it's your turn. And I could see the kids like didn't say nothing. And in radio, you don't want dead air, so like that's kind of sketchy, right? But the kid think, and you could see him change his thought in like mid-air.
I remember this.
From his question that he originally had, he changed his question. So
Great question.
He said, "Mr. Meek," and he goes, "Yes, son." And I go, "How much money do you make a year?"
Yeah, that's what the kid asked. He was a little guy.
He's like 6.
Yeah, he was a little guy.
Right.
That's funny.
Wow.
I'll never forget that.
Oh my god.
It's interesting what you say about that, and with the kids, because as a skateboard shop owner,
and Keith said, I don't mean to interrupt you. Keith's reply was, "Not enough."
Yeah,
son.
that's what he said. No, but what I was
didn't
gonna,
deter that kid from wanting to be him in 40 years.
well, and being a little bit
That's where his head was. He was
That's
like,
right.
yeah.
and like you, Keith, lived a life of skateboarding.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. But what I was gonna say is, having a team of skateboarders, I've had people walk in here and say, "Yeah, your team rider pushed my kid over at the park, or he smashed the skateboard in front of my kid and scared the crap out of him." And you're just like, "Oh my gosh!" But then there's times where they come in and say, "Hey, your team rider taught my kid how to ollie." Mm-hmm. And then you're just like, "Wow!" Mm-hmm. And that's what you're talking about.
Oh,
it's like,
for sure.
it's and those are those moments that can be a game changer outside of photos, and like you were talking about, is when you get feedback that's unrehearsed, unasked for, and they say, "Emmanuel was at the park and made my kid's life."
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many more reasons to be cool to kids than there isn't. It's
Exactly.
just the bottom line, right? It's a pretty basic principle, and it's one of the very few responsibilities that we take on as public entities as pro skateboarders, is that just be cool to kids, be cool to people. It doesn't it doesn't have to ruin it for that one kid forever, and it will. And even if you're just drunk and it's a blip in time to you and you forget all about it the next day, that kid's gonna remember that forever.
Absolutely.
And they'll talk shit about you.
Or
And they'll also eventually, when they're old enough to file a good case against you, you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, for sure.
no, absolutely. And that's one thing is I've never heard you ever treat a kid bad ever. So
nah,
that's
it's
a-
not
that's
me,
a-
dude. That ain't my MO.
yeah.
I have a really high tolerance, and I run into some punk ass kids. Either way, I take that as an opportunity, to be a bigger person.
Be
Because
a-
they'll push
a-
buttons for
or,
sure.
Be a mentor,
A mentor,
leader.
totally,
Yeah.
man, totally. If nothing else, they'll be a bigger person. Because not every adult will react to some kids' behaviors in those situations the same way. And if you're able to just brush it off and ignore it, and continue on ripping in front of that kid, that might have just as much impact as if you were to sit there and scold them or So I definitely, it's case by case, but not every kid is cool either. That's the
Yeah.
bottom line too. It's
Absolutely.
So yes, you're right. It is an opportunity to be a mentor, and as you get to know kids, you'll see they'll gravitate towards the positive that you're influencing in them way quickly. They will gravitate towards that, and you'll understand what's going on.
Evan, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah.
We appreciate
My
it.
pleasure, always.
It's always, we love it.
Thank you for having me.
I call him the pride of Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Manuel
Even though
Guzman,
we
everybody.
have him and I have an ongoing feud between Manchester United and Chelsea, but we're not bringing it
How's
up.
your team doing right now?
They got through some changes.
Okay, yeah, where'd your tattoo run off to?
I
I know where mine is.
It's right there, bro. I know it is.
Well, I heard they fade when the team doesn't do well, and they get a little brighter when they
Yeah, I
do.
know. We got his team's got problems. My team's got problems. We'll see what happens next year.
Okay, all right. Well, you can have an NA, and you can have one of those
The
brown
ink they
ones.
use is susceptible to tears.
Who's here next week, TC? Showed you the thing. Who do we do? Ross got.
We have the founder of Specialized Bikes coming on.
Yeah.
Is that the rumor?
Yep.
That's going to be amazing.
We got all kinds of got the maestro from Santa Cruz Symphony coming on.
Wow.
All kinds of crazy people.
Well,
All kinds of crazy
just
shows.
follow-
Jane Delane Mackenzie's coming on.
Jane Delane, a legend. Oh my God.
Delane's coming.
I mean, Jane Delane.
Huh?
I mean, she
Yeah,
held it
legend.
down at the lane longer than anybody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so,
Yeah.
so
So
we got some good shows.
A lot
You
of
ever
great
had
shows.
the Great Morgani on?
Buell.
Yes. Oh, we haven't had the Great Morgani on.
No.
Yeah.
Buell's coming up. Buell's
Oh,
back.
Buell's coming back. So we're gonna get a new Buell wrap.
Buell wrap.
I wonder if is he working on one?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I love that.
Thanks, TC. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you so much for
I'm
coming on
gonna
the
say one
show.
thing.
Yeah.
I love living in this town. I go to yoga this morning. I go to Second Harvest Food Bank today. And I find out that if you spend $1, it'll feed 3 people.
Yep.
Spend $10, it'll feed 30 people. Unbelievable what they're doing in Second Harvest Food Bank.
Oh,
and then
the same gal that we've had on the
yeah, Erica.
Erica.
She said hi, by the way.
Does she? Erica's awesome.
I mean, what they're doing is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I leave there, I get in the helicopter and go see the sharks.
That made you quit surfing.
Maybe quit surfing in Manresa.
An
right?
18-footer.
This thing was huge. It was like
Wow.
a Cadillac.
Wow.
The big fella was, So then I go home and then I get my surfboard. I go surfing.
In the kelp.
I go surfing out here at 38 with Kai Kawasaki.
And you know that Dave Ebert, shark expert, the
Right.
Lost Shark guy, said they love kelp.
That's right.
They
And
love
I
to swim in the
then I got
kelp.
My show tonight with E-Mount and you.
Yeah.
What a day.
What a day. You gotta love living in Santa Cruz. I
I
don't care what anyone says. This place is paradise to
It
me.
is.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
So,
guys.
yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, T Fox. Thanks for having us on Santa Cruz Waves. You could get them. We're on every platform, right?
YouTube,
We're on
Apple,
everything. Yeah.
everywhere.
Check us out on the World Wide Webinar.
Everywhere.
We will see you next week on the Off Lip Radio Show.